An elaborate drug operation hidden in a quiet family neighbourhood.
We got this information from a member of the public who obviously we're not prepared to disclose, but that person has contacted the police. We've made some inquiries.
This morning, Newcastle police raided the Marshall Street property, discovering a hydroponic setup and seizing more than 150 cannabis plants.
Each 5 rooms had a very sophisticated setup. There was a filtration setup running out of the bathroom. The way that they're planted and the way I'd suggest how they remove those plants, it's quite elaborate.
Initial inquiries suggest those behind the den had bypassed the power meter. Police say one glitch would have ended in disaster.
Just the amount of power loops, power boards and other electricity or apparatuses in this premises, it is extremely dangerous.
This afternoon, officers dismantled the operation and began the process of destroying the plants. There's also the hunt for those responsible.
If anyone's got any information whatsoever who can assist us with the occupants or owner of this premises, it would be much appreciated.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News. It looks like business as usual, but for some, it's anything but.
Our members are suffering with payroll issues, up to $500 less per fortnight due to the issues in the payroll system.
It's the latest issue since Keolis Downer took over Newcastle's public transport. Bus drivers left out of pocket.
When people have got mortgages, rents, food on the table, a lot of times they're incurring dishonour fees from the bank because the money's not in the bank account. So it is a real issue for our members.
Enough is enough. Minister Constance needs to put a stop to this debacle of a privatisation of our bus service. We've seen 221 routes cut due to scheduling problems. We've got pay problems, we've got superannuation problems.
The private provider admits it's had some teething problems since taking the wheel 2 months ago, and it's vowed to get the payroll system right.
We have been from the outset very apologetic to our staff. First priority is to identify any underpayments and make sure that those payments are corrected as soon as possible.
There are also claims by Labor and the union that Keolis is putting drivers at risk with 7 new buses without security screens. The company says 6 of the 7 have now been fitted. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
All smiles, the man who's taken the reins of a Newcastle industrial institution. Sandeep Gupta, Executive Chairman of Britain's Liberty House, now the owner of Liberty One Steel.
Special moment for us. We're very excited, embarking on a new journey.
That officially began just last week, following 17 months of negotiations. Liberty House formally acquired Arium's operations, reportedly for around $700 million, after the Australian company was placed in voluntary administration.
New beginning, a good future, a lot of hard work, a lot of changes, but a great future. We will invest in Whyalla, which will increase capacity there, which will increase capacity here.
Just how will be determined within the next 100 days.
Our 100-day plan is really aimed at focusing on a dozen or so key priority areas for us, but involving the whole business.
The company's direction is clear though: expand steelmaking facilities, improve energy efficiencies and increase exports of iron ore and steel. The Mayfield plant is already earmarked for a key role.
It's a focus for us in terms of growth because there is space here. It's a large site. There's a well-established supply chain through Newcastle as well. So we're certainly looking at this as one of our hubs for growth.
There is work to do, but the future ahead is bright.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Newcastle at its best, and from above it's clear to see there's been major progress in plans to showcase the city to the world. While there's still a lot of work to do come late November, the Newcastle 500 will see the supercars hit these streets.
Part of a street race, why you have them, is because you're postcarding an area. I think it's an undiscovered secret of Australia, and I think for some of the locals that's probably the way they'd like it to be, but the fact is it's a beautiful city and the beaches are quite spectacular.
John Howe is part of the circuit design team. He's worked with V8 champion Mark Scaife to make sure safety is number one.
I'm an engineer by my trade as well, a civil engineer. Mark's got the driver's experience, and so between the two of us we complement each other quite well.
The track is starting to take shape along the foreshore, while Watt Street should be finished by Sunday. But it hasn't been easy, with crews hitting a few speed bumps with what's beneath the surface. The infrastructure works bill alone is sitting at more than $20 million.
It's quite extraordinary in areas where they haven't been touched for sometimes up to 100 years. So we're encountering pipes and services and facilities, and we're upgrading all of those.
The on-track action begins on November 24. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Causes a little bit of inter-unit rivalry, so it's a good fun thing to do.
The Air Force personnel are the largest group that we've got donating here in Newcastle and the Hunter Valley, and annually they total 640 donations for the year. So their contribution to what we're doing here, in particular the Defence Force Challenge, is really, really significant.
Weekends are going to be big for us, I imagine. Saturday mornings when you don't want to get out of bed and maybe had a big night, and so our screaming morning special will go over really well.
What we've been doing has been good, that hard composed style of footy, and we're getting back to our trademark style. So we'll go in there confident against the Bombers this weekend and just play our normal hard style of footy.
The howling breeze didn't stop a host of the Hunters' top professionals from lining up at the first event of the Pro-Am series.
Today it looks like it's going to blow a dog off the chain, and there's going to be some high scores. So yeah, just try to get it on the greens and make some putts.
It's always good to come and support the local tournaments, so happy to play today. Nice and windy out here, so it should be a challenge.
We've got a lot of good players, and we get to go and play with each other every week, and banner's always good. We go. There you go.
The tournaments are a relaxing stretch for James Nitties in a roller coaster ride of a year. He's travelled between Australia, the US and Fiji, but there's more to come.
Back here in Australia, then back for Q School, and then back for the Aussie Summer, and then hopefully back for the final stage Q School. So yeah, little nomad over here.
Jake Higginbottom has been all over Asia to play, but is now eyeing off a spot in Europe in 2018.
That's probably number one goal, try and focus everything on that. And then try and just make sure I keep my Asian card. I think I've made enough money in Australia to keep my Australian cards.
Toronto's Callan O'Reilly is also looking for a strong finish to the year.
I just want to try and wrap up my card in Australia, just get that sorted, make sure I've got something for next year, and then look to Asia.
Defending Murray champion Lee McKechnie still has work to do on the Aussie Tour.
Looking forward to the next sort of 2 months to hopefully play well and earn my ticket back next year.
He's laced up his runners, changed into his kit, and set off on the track so many times before. But Vlad Shatrov has never attempted what's coming this weekend, a 100-kilometre race.
I can't wait, actually. I've done the training. I just want to get out there and have a go.
An accomplished distance runner, his first ultra marathon will be the Great North Walk 100.
It's actually one of the most difficult 100k races in Australia. It's brutal. It's off-road, lots of single track, lots of bush track, and lots of hills. So many hills.
There is a chance it won't actually go ahead. Bushfires are currently impacting the Lake Macquarie Central Coast course. But as a backup, Shatrov has booked a ticket to Melbourne with another ultra on there this weekend.
I just enjoy it. The challenge it's so real, it's so hard. The big thing with ultra trail running is that you're by yourself for so long. So in a marathon, you've always got that kind of safety net. When you get out on a trail ultra, there's no safety net.
He came close to making the Rio Olympics. Now Shatrov is committing to this kind of ultra challenge. This weekend is a test. If all goes well, he's aiming to race 4 more next year.
I know it's going to be hard, but I'm confident as well that I can handle it.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
In the heart of the red zone, the state opposition with the ear of residents.
We want to see action and the time for talk is over.
It's time to act. It's time for the talking to stop.
And action could be close, according to federal MP Meryl Swanson, who understands the government is extremely close to releasing its plan to support those affected by the contamination and clean up polluted areas. Canberra says it's doing everything it can to respond appropriately and as quickly as possible.
Everything needs to be done. There needs to be a plan about how you're going to stop the contamination coming off the site. You need to deal with the remediation of the site, and you need to work out what's happening for the communities right here, right now that are affected.
On Tuesday, Labor sided with the coalition in the Senate to vote down a motion to buy out red zone properties. It prompted this response from the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister, James McGrath. This matter is above party politics and the coalition is doing everything it can to respond appropriately. There is some action though. Fullerton Cove resident John Butler's tank and bore water will soon be tested for PFOS.
I feel that the response has been hands off a little bit up until this point.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Les Duff has lived in Wallsend for 38 years. Frustrated over what he labels a lack of attention from Newcastle Council, he says this election campaign has been nothing short of disappointing.
What have you been promised?
Nothing. Nothing.
Residents in the city's west say they're in desperate need of footpaths and more crossings near Ellamore Vale Primary School, along with shade at nearby parks.
I have to walk down there with my grandchildren and walk them across the road. I have a friend down the road that does it as well. It's not good. They're only little. We need something done.
If you have kids, think of your own kids if they were going to a school without them, and, give us what we need.
Lord Mayor Nuatali Nelm says a $90 million council works program should help.
Ellamore Vale, Wallsend are all on our radar to make sure they get their fair share.
Newcastle Independence candidate Mike Rabitt was campaigning in Wallsend today.
One of the things that we've found through the polling booth is that people just want to talk because they don't see anyone. Once the council election is over and done, they don't see anyone. Their concerns aren't being addressed.
Then there's this, a flyer authorised by State Labor claiming links between Newcastle Independent candidates and former Lord Mayor Jeff McCloy.
Novocastrians deserve to know the truth about these false independents.
Oh, it's a bit sad, I think. If you've got to stoop to attacking people and their credibility to be able to win some votes, I think that's just pretty poor darts. I've been labelled in that particular card as that Jeff asked me to stand. In actual fact, it was Alan Robinson who was the first person to ask me to stand. So it had nothing to do with Jeff McCloy.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
There are serious issues in these papers and there's some serious questions that need to be addressed.
We don't believe that cool koala habitat should be able to be sold in the way that it has. We'll do everything that we can to ensure that it never happens again. But we'll also look at all options for the Mambo wetlands as well. This is too important if you're serious about the koalas in Port Stephens.
This is the end of an era, but this has been a vessel that's saved a lot of lives around Port Stephens. It's given unbelievable service. It's been involved in 4 of the major rescues carried out on the New South Wales coast.
"18-year-old Mark Miafu, a promising forward who was reportedly a shoo-in for the Best and Fairest award before this. The incident in an under-19 grand final between Maitland and the Wanderers, shocking his teammates, the crowd and his club.
What we've got is a young man who's made a very poor decision, and unfortunately for him, he's going to have to live with those consequences.
Last night, Miafu faced the judiciary here at No. 2 Sports Ground, the same ground where the incident took place. After reading a 3-page apology, the 18-year-old was slapped with a 10-year ban from the game. Miafu was lucky to play in the final after receiving a yellow card the week before. The young official, Nick Gall, managed to finish the game and will be back refereeing this weekend.
Nick's been assigned a game this weekend, so he's back on the horse as it were. And yeah, there's a lot of kudos for him, given the fact that he went on with that game.
Miafu has been charged with common assault and is due to face court next month. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
They got the wooden spoon, but the Knights earned plenty of respect this season, and no doubt that will be celebrated at their annual awards tonight. Live now to Sam Jordan, who's at the event. He's joined by coach Nathan Brown.
Good evening, Mitch, and that's a very sharp-looking Nathan Brown tonight as well. Nathan, a tough season, but plenty to celebrate as well.
Yeah, look, it's a lot more optimistic this year than this time last year, and with the recruits we got coming to go, the huge improvement we got out of the kids, we're certainly heading in the right direction.
Well, I guess a lot of those younger players are certainly in line for awards tonight. I won't twist your arm to try and tell us the winners, but it's a big field.
Yeah, look, there's definitely, all of our young players that played last year all made some great progress this year, and without giving much, I'd be surprised if 1 or 2 blokes that debuted last year weren't featuring in the awards tonight.
And is that the biggest thing you take out of this season? Just how far some of those young players have come?
Yeah, look, how far they come, when we lost Rory and Muller, without playing a game, to lose those 2 guys who were probably 2 of our only 4 or 5 experienced players. So to lose those guys and how close we were so often just shows that it all come off the back of the young guys that debuted last year, and then some young guys like Yatesy and Stoney that debuted this year. So it gives us great confidence that if they really prepare well and train better again this pre-season, that they can all improve it a fair amount again.
Of course, it is finals time as well at the moment. I know you're a big fan of the Melbourne Storm. Are they the team to beat?
Yeah, look, last year, we got some touch-ups last year a few times, but generally we played sides twice. The second time round, our younger blokes had improved a fair bit, and we improved a lot. But Cronulla was the side that really did the most damage to us on both occasions. And this year, the only side that did a lot of damage to us on 2 occasions was the Storm as well. So they certainly remind me from that point of view of how Cronulla were last year. And look, they're certainly are the dominant side, but finals can be funny. But if you're having your last bit of money on, you'd think the Storm were the way to go.
And I was going to say, I think that's my pick as well. So here's plenty to celebrate tonight.
Thanks, Sam. Unlike his Socceroos counterpart, Matilda's coach Alan Stajic is enjoying a dream run. Australia's victory at the Tournament of Nations featured a first ever win over the USA. But Stajic says the focus remains on success at the Asian and World Cups.
The Tournament of Nations is a friendly tournament, but a good stepping stone for us as a team to win a trophy and to know that we can compete at that level and beat the best nations on earth.
He's keen to see Hunter fans out in force to support his team on September 19.
There's 10,500 tickets sold here for Newcastle already, so hopefully we can get that up towards 15 or 20, and the players will really feel like they're at home. And it'll be a great boost for Newcastle bidding for the 2023 World Cup when we get it later on in the year as well.
Stajic believes Sam Kerr is just starting to show the world how good she is on a consistent basis.
The same applies for our very own Emily Van Egmond.
She's technically so gifted, a real playmaker. She's added a little bit of work rate and grunt to her game, which she probably thinks she didn't have before. So she's becoming a really valuable player in our team.
As well as Jets skipper Gemma Simon.
She's maturing and she's starting to feel like she's part of the team now, and she's such a good player. I really believe she can have a good international career once she starts getting a foot in the door and starts getting a few more caps under her belt.
Stajic says he'll wait to see how the girls pull up after games with their club teams overseas before naming the squad for the 2 friendlies against Brazil.
The rugby posts are still up, but soon this will be round ball turf. The Jets were today given a tour of the facilities. In a few weeks, number 2 Sports Ground will be Newcastle's W League base.
It's good. Hopefully the field will get a little bit fixed up just from the rugby being on here. Sheds are good, everything's good.
We're all excited having a space that's ours and it's known as ours.
It's a huge step forward for the side, which previously shared space at Spears Point. Newcastle Council promises the playing surface will improve, while the Lord Mayor stops short of confirming more codes will begin to access a traditionally rugby-only ground.
It's a perfect match with the W League because they do play over the summer, and it means we can use this fantastic city facility all year round at the same time as supporting women in sport.
The side will train and play at the venue, but the club is hopeful most of its W League home games can be played at McDonald Jones Stadium as double headers with the A-League.
The women's game's growing and growing, more girls playing, more people watching, just more interest and more profile for the girls.
And funding is growing too. Both the FFA and the Jets have invested more this season.
Cricket's doing it, AFL's doing it, and football's going to follow.
The squad will take shape over the next fortnight. Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Election eve in Maitland, and some were busy tooting their own horn.
It's great to have volunteers offer fire engines and things like that. Great way to get some attention. It's been a big campaign here in Maitland and we're looking forward to the result tomorrow.
Voters hoping to miss the large crowds tomorrow ran the gauntlet today as parties made last-ditch attempts to seal the deal.
It's going to be a very tight election, I think. The preferencing will be very important as to the final outcome.
I think it might be really close at the end of the day. It would take a miracle for me to get in, but then again, I believe a miracle, so we'll see what happens.
I'm feeling great. There's a lot of support out there, there's a lot of momentum. People seem to be resonating with our message. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
For the first time in more than 20 years, one familiar face was absent, the city's longest-serving, soon-to-be former Mayor Peter Blackmore.
It's a bit different. It is certainly a little bit of a culture shock. I will miss it. I've made some lovely friends, great organisations, but I now look forward to the future.
As for who will take the reins,
I feel as though it probably might be time for the first female mayor. Anyone who has been my deputy is quite capable of standing for mayor.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Pulling out the promises before the big day. Port Stephens Labor candidates hit Fullerton Cove, announcing a commitment to rate relief for red zone residents.
Council has already come out saying that they think they can't do it. We're saying that we want residents to be confident that that's the case because they haven't seen anything concrete from Council about why they think it can't be done.
It's music to the ears for some.
EPA is telling us we're not fit for purpose, so why in the hell should we be paying rates on it?
And just one of the issues swaying voters today at Raymond Terrace pre-poll.
Mainly the roads, making sure they clean up the water around Williamtown RAF base.
Roads and that sort of stuff.
Candidates for the top job pushing their final pitch, the absence of outgoing Mayor Bruce Mackenzie making it anyone's game.
It will be very tight and I think it will come down to preferences in the end, but it has been an exciting time.
We need transparency in our council. We need people to know what's going on.
We want to see an open council. We really want to see a council that listens to the community.
Meanwhile, further inland, the Dungog election could see a new direction for council after 5 years of instability. Dungog residents will not only elect 9 councillors, but will also be asked several referendum and poll questions, including whether the mayor should be popularly elected and if the council should continue to stand alone or be merged with Port Stephens or Maitland. Talia Sav, NBN News.
It's the mentoring program Packing a Punch. Foundation for Life is the brainchild of former professional fighters Rich and Rob Fogarty.
Teenagers are trying to find what their purpose is in life. Sometimes they go down the wrong tracks.
I just believe in giving everyone a second chance. You know, if they've done wrong as a kid, they should be given a second chance to come in and prove that they can do right.
Today, Kane Richardson is disciplined and focused. 3 months ago, it was a different story.
Just hanging around the wrong crowd, I guess, and hanging around some of the wrong people. Got suspended a lot, I was in trouble a lot. Didn't really get along with many people at school. Just too many parties, too many drugs, not what I wanted, so I came walking through the doors.
And he's never looked back. With the brothers' guidance, he's learnt boxing fundamentals, life lessons, and turned his life around.
Responsibility, respect, everything that I've asked for. I'm getting into my TAFE doing my Cert 3 and 4, and then I'm doing this twice a day, every day.
Richardson has been training 6 days a week, preparing to make his boxing debut tomorrow night.
It's a proud moment for me as a coach to see the kid walk in, bit down, and then 3 months later he's hopping in the ring.
And regardless of the outcome,
I'm already a winner, without a doubt. Having Rob and Rich by my side, they're absolutely amazing. Best coaches, best people, best blokes. I can't thank them enough for everything that they've done for me. If it wasn't for this, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Even with the Danny Badiris medal hanging around his neck, Mitch Barnett could hardly believe his eyes.
Oh mate, so good, to get an award from a guy that I looked up to, my whole childhood pretty much. It's just a massive honour.
After an outstanding campaign, no one in the room was surprised. Except for the man himself.
To being acknowledged how far I've sort of come, but it just makes me want to go so much further with my footy career, and I know I can. I just got to continue to work hard.
Last night was a chance for players, partners and staff to let their hair down after a challenging season. Those departing the club were honoured, including by some of the game's greats, and key players were recognised. Brock Lamb was named Rookie of the Year. His halves partner Trent Hodkinson, unsurprisingly, the club's Community Player of the Year. In his first season in Newcastle, co-captain Jamie Buhrer was named Coach's Player of the Year, while Daniel Saifidi was voted Player's Player.
If I had to choose an award, I would have chosen that one, and to have the respect of my peers means a lot to me, and I don't take it for granted, that's for sure.
Taking a walk with Lachlan Fitzgibbon at home in Merewether, it's clear just how much playing for the Knights means to him.
I call myself a Newcastle and Navicashire bloke, and I never want to leave this town. I think what we're building here is pretty special.
After attracting interest from rival clubs, the 23-year-old Souths junior will stay here for at least the next 2 years. But it could have been different. After spending the first half of 2017 in reserve grade and coming off contract, he considered his footballing career might be at an end before it began.
I think everyone, it passes their mind when they're off contract and you're playing reserve grade a bit. I had options. I wasn't giving up on the dream of playing footy full time for an X amount of years, but I had options, and if I ever need to fall back on them, I need to. But in this case, I'm glad I didn't have to.
One of them is construction management. He's now at the end of 6 years of study, which he juggled while playing.
And I always wanted to do university in case footy doesn't eventuate, and I'll need something anyway from 30 onwards to retirement.
He doesn't need it yet. Through injury, Fitzgibbon was given another NRL chance and he never looked back, scoring 8 tries in 14 games, Newcastle's second highest.
I think there's a turning point in the amount of NRL games you play. The first 5 to 10, it's always you go out there a bit scratchy, you're a bit scared about doing something wrong or whatever. And there's a point there where you started winning a couple of games, we got close in a couple of games, and then you just grow in confidence.
His rise through the ranks coincided with a new look. Fans love it, but he denies he's a modern-day Samson.
Hair's definitely not my strength, Sam. As you probably know, Brownie told me 8 weeks ago I had to cut my hair or strap it because I was playing with it too much, which I probably was. I just got the black tape and a bit of strapping tape into it, and the rest is history. I'll be keeping it for a while, I think.
I think that's always a part of a winning mentality. If things don't go well for you, you're up 1-0 with 10 minutes to go, let's grind it out. But leave that till the desperate games. I don't think that way during pre-season games.
Battle lines set for what's expected to be a close finish. At the junction, the old saying, the early bird catches the worm, didn't have quite the same success with queues out the door. Greens mayoral candidate Therese Doyle believes the winds of change are on their way.
I think that people are looking for a change in Newcastle Council. I have had some very positive responses to my message.
We think there's a mood for change. A lot of people are talking to us about how they want change. They're not particularly happy with the council that they have now. So we hope that returns to us in the ballot box.
In some ways it's a win-win for everybody. We'll have a new council hopefully in the next couple of days, and hopefully people will see that Labor has delivered over the last 3 years, and we'll have enough Labor councillors to keep going with our vision for the city.
First-timer Carol Duncan had a little extra help drumming up support.
Toby, secret weapon, democracy dogs, they're everywhere, they're fabulous.
It's been a disastrous campaign for the Liberals, losing candidates in 2 wards, but party stalwart Brad Luke believes his track record will speak for itself.
I think people know where I stand on issues, they know what I do for the community in this area, and hopefully I'll get support from that.
While the results could be days away, today there was one clear winner.
We're going crazy here with the sausage sandwiches today. We've sold out pretty much, not even 1 o'clock yet, so we're having a great day.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
The morning of election day, but no nerves for Labor's Des Maslin. He was too busy feeling nostalgic. The Port Stephens mayoral hopeful, spruiking his local ties by voting in Bob's Farm Public. The school he went to was a youngster.
We've run a great, good, clean, straight campaign. We're here for the community, and that's what's showing up.
His independent rival, Ryan Palmer, did his last-minute campaigning at Irrawang High, saying a victory would all be thanks to the team behind him.
Good luck to all, and it'll be an outstanding Port Stephens no matter what the result is.
Another man hoping to replace long-serving Port Stephens Mayor Bruce McKenzie is current councillor Peter Kafer.
We've got an Aboriginal team running for the first time in New South Wales, so it'd be great to see that for our people and also for everyone else.
Meanwhile, further west, plenty of Maitland's voters had their say at Rutherford High. They're choosing a replacement for long-serving Mayor Peter Blackmore. His deputy, Ken Weathered, says he's got experience to slot straight in.
My campaign is based on the fact that I am the current Deputy Mayor, and I believe that I can with my experience.
With the Liberal Party in power at both state and federal level, Bob Gagan says Maitland's now ready.
I think it's time for a mayor that has got the respect of all sides of politics, and I think I've been around a long time, and I think that's what I've got.
Despite strong pre-polling across both regions, results aren't expected until next week. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
The local league's biggest derby, but with more to play for than ever. Backed by a vocal home crowd, Ethan Cook showed commitment to match, barging over for the opener. He steered Lakes to a premiership. Today, Brad Murray reminded the Seagulls just what they're missing. His crossfield kick was regathered, offloaded, and the Butcher Boys had a second. Lakes did settle into the match, but even on the front foot, Central found a way to strike. This grubber scooped up by Jake Mason, and in a broken field, he broke through. He is quick and was never going to be chased down. To make matters worse, Chris Adams looked to do his hamstring while chasing. But it was never going to be that easy for Central. Lakes have proven they are fighters. Jermaine Tornoa-Brown's try, a perfect example. The halftime score, 16-6. The Seagulls looked more polished in the second and more dangerous too. This backline play going through Jacob Gagai, drawing men in for Kyle Kennedy. Central haven't played finals footy for a long time, but all season it's looked like that would change. With the game on the line, Ethan Cook made sure the Butcher Boys wouldn't let this one slip. And so it proved. Lakes threw everything at them, but Central wasn't going to be denied. 22-10 winners. And now one game away from the grand final. They'll face the loser of West and Macquarie tomorrow. The Hawks have made a habit out of finishing strong, and when they needed it most, today was no different. Trailing by 2 with 20 minutes left, Hamilton kicked into gear. From the sideline, the conversion fell just short, but in the end it didn't matter. The Beaches their own worst enemy with discipline. The Hawks too strong in the ruck, a turnover earning back possession, and too strong with the ball underarm. The contest was all but over when Vartali Vivar carried out this lifting tackle. He was shown a red card. His side reduced to 13 men, and in a further blow, he will miss next week. It's a weekend the Hawks won't be worrying about. They have it off. A try deep into added time, sealing the result. Hamilton into their third straight grand final.
Nothing could wipe the smile off Nuatali Nelms' face today.
I'm very pleased with the result. It's been a fantastic team effort from Labor, and we've really sold our delivery message during this campaign.
Ms Nelms was re-elected as Lord Mayor with 42% of the vote, double that of her nearest rival, Independent Kath Elliott. Ms Elliott did secure a seat on council.
Unfortunately, the independents don't have the balance of power or the power in the chamber, so we will have to work closely with Labor and the Greens to try and convince them to do what's right for the people of Ward 2 and for the city.
Labor claimed 6 seats, including the Lord Mayor's chair, and Independents 4, while the Greens and Liberals look set to claim 1 each. One remains undecided. The race for the top job at Maitland is still too close to call. Labor's Loretta Baker is in the box seat to become the city's first female mayor, but with just over 1,000 votes splitting her and Philip Penfold, it will go down to preferences.
I'm quietly optimistic that the preferences may flow my way if people followed the how to votes.
There are up to 17,000 preferences still to be allocated in Maitland, and I'm currently 1,300 behind. So it's possible, but still very difficult here in Maitland.
In Port Stephens, Ryan Palmer takes the reins from the retiring Bruce McKenzie. The council includes 3 seats to Mr Palmer and his fellow independents. 5 incumbents will return, plus 1 ALP and the Liberal allied Jamie Abbott.
The first thing I want to do is make sure that we
unite the council chamber. It doesn't mean that we all have to come together and have the same ideas, but it's about setting up the next 3 years, making sure that Port Stephens and the residents of Port Stephens are looked after first.
And at Dungog, Independents and Labor dominated the poll, with one council seat still too close to call. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Stephen Norman's family share a heartache, sadly, with so many others here. The pain of losing a loved one.
In the last 9 years, we've had 9 fatalities. The last 17 years, 17 fatalities.
The 53-year-old's name is now etched alongside other fallen Northern District mine workers, or 1,803. The memorial wall at Cessnock, a subtle and ever-present reminder of the dangers of the industry and the vulnerability of those who go to work in the coalfields each day.
Has anyone ever been punished for any of these names on the wall? I don't think so. And maybe we've got to look at that.
The Hunter's rich mining history is marred by tragedy upon tragedy. Among them, the deaths of Philip Grant and Jamie Mitchell in 2014. Both lost their lives in a wall collapse at the Ozstar coal mine. The CFMEU wants safety improved across the board and more accountability.
The industry really has to have a good look at itself and ask the question, have we got it right? And I think those statistics say we haven't. That's a stain on our industry, and we really need to have a good look at ourselves.
A day shining a light on mine safety and ensuring the memory of those lost never dims. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Wests came into the game fresh from a week off and the Rosellas made it count, Simon Williams opening the scoring. The home side doubled its advantage when Callan Richardson caught a crossfield kick and forced his way over. The Scorpions finally got on the board when the Rosellas' Ryan Walker threw a loose pass and Matt Simon took the intercept before running the length of the field to score. James Elias extended the lead for Wests with a one-on-one strip shortly after the break. Walker then made up for his mistake with a solid solo effort. When Elias grabbed a double, the Rosellas were flying into the grand final. Not to be outdone, Walker scored his second try to make it 34 points to 4. Just for good measure, Sam Keenan dropped in a field goal. The Scorpions did score a late consolation, but the focus now is on next week's clash with the Butcher Boys. Wanderers looked like opening the scoring, but Tim Marsh spilled the ball over the line. The home side did soon open the scoring as Dylan Rowney set up Billy Coffey. Maitland hit back quickly. The Blacks forwards got a roll on before halfback Max Stafford crashed over. But the two Blues had an answer. Luke Menchin and Rowney combined from 60 metres out to increase the lead. In a carbon copy of their early move, Rowney, Joshua McCormack and Marsh grabbed another for Wanderers. Luke Simmons' conversion from the sideline made it 21 points to 5. When Rowney and McCormack linked up down the right again, Wanderers were making it look easy. The second half didn't get much better for Maitland. Wanderers continued to attack down the right. Rowney and Rhys Domkins both scored, before Coffey went long distance to well and truly put the game out of reach. Souths came into the game as underdogs but took the lead inside 5 minutes thanks to Erin Hazel. Nick DeWitt could have made it 2-0 midway through the half. Instead, it was Norths who hit back, Hamish Dundas combining with Dane Pettit. Souths thought they'd done enough to take the lead into the break when Chris Ninnis scored. But Rory Walker made it 2-2 from the penalty spot. Sean Fraser put Norths in front for the first time a few minutes into the second half. Souths went close on several occasions only to be denied by desperate defence. Hazel then earned his side a much-needed penalty but couldn't put it away. That would prove costly as Walker scored his second to send Norths to a third straight grand final against Gosford.